to examine some analysis and considerations for our financial accounting software going forward. So, what we have is, we have Miss Paula Hurlbert, I believe, from Springbrook on the screen, and excuse me, Debbie McLeod, locally is a sales rep. I'm going to say it wrong. Sales rep with Springbrook, or account representative.
Sure. Yes.
Does that work?
That works for me. Yes. I work for the product team and the sales.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And she has given us presentations in the past on the software capability. And the reason we're having this today is because we put out an RFP. We've had some submissions to that. Today is the last day of a quarter, and there is a somewhat of a line in the sand where we could, if we go a certain direction, take advantage of some, I'm going to use the term discount or whatever, okay? So, what I would like to do is, because of the thoroughness of the software, I'd like for Darlene to kind of lead us through what we have in front of us, the numbers. We've got Debbie and we've got Paula here online, and Bill and Jackie, who's sat through some of these presentations. To me, Jackie and her background, along with Darlene's, are critical, because we all, different offices, use the old KVS system, and Springbrook is the parent of the KVS child, going forward with new technologies, new capabilities, new platforms, and all this to bring it into the 21st century. So, with that being said, Darlene and Debbie, I'm going to let you and Paula take it from here, and everybody's free to ask questions as they deem necessary. I think we need to, hopefully, our goal is to come away here today with some degree of movement forward on how we want to proceed.
Yes, as you are aware, I came to court a while back and asked for permission to do an RFP so that we could get going on some software. We've been with KVS 20 to 22 years. It's served the county well so far, but we really need to make a change going forward. Most conversions usually occur every 3 to 5 years. You have updates. Now, in the current, everything is going to a cloud-based, and Springbrook has been able to offer something that's going to be a truly cloud-based product that we'll be able to take going forward. We have two different packets. One is specifically HR related. The other is the rest of our migration. When we did the RFP, we were very specific in what we asked for. A couple of things in particular was that we would need somebody that would be able to convert this software that we have used for this long into 3 to 5 years worth of continuing what we have. We can look back and see what we've got. They need to convert it into what we would be going to. And we also needed something that was going to be password protected per person. We wanted to have an audit trail for if Jackie goes on to an area and makes changes, if I go on to an area and make changes. We wanted to be able to track who was doing what within the software. And we actually did receive 2 different proposals. We've talked to another company, and we've talked to Springbrook, obviously multiple times. And with the proposal that we've received today, we have some prices that are, they expired today, very frankly. We have two different proposals. A proposal that would be for after today. It's a slight increase, almost, well, a little less than $5,000 more than what's being proposed today. That's why the urgency of why I felt like it was important to go ahead and meet, give you all that chance to say, okay, we wanna go forward with this, or not. That's your decision. I've looked at what we've paid the last couple of years with KBS. I've looked at the monthly amounts that we're paying to Kronos, which could, it does have a little over a year left on that contract. So it would be a little bit of a buyout probably to finish that out. But, and
Do we know that figure?
I'm sorry?
Do we know that figure?
I am looking at, to finish off this fiscal year with Kronos, it's about $3,800. And then it would be about 10,600, I believe, to finish out the rest of the
Contract.
the rest of that contract. It's approximate because I don't know, I couldn't see real clearly if it was, you know, a percentage of increase or not. But we pay, I think it was $761.40, yeah, $761.40 each month to them. KBS, we paid in October of 2020, we paid $13,228. In August of 21, we paid $13,889. So it's going to increase. But actually, it's going to go to zero at some point very soon because it will go away eventually.
Do they participate in a conversion?
Yes, KBS.
Yes, we
As
will convert the
inside.
data. Yep.
I have a question about that. Working in the occupational tax office, a lot of our historical data, sometimes we need to make changes to it. So when it's converted, will we be able to change anything, or is it just gonna be like a read only?
It won't, your customers you can maintain, but the historical data will be something you couldn't because it'll be posted to the history.
Okay,
So it'll be, anything that's in the current quarter or current year that has to be maintained, yes. But the
Okay.
historical data will be just that, historical.
What if there are errors in the historical data that you want to correct?
It's all balanced before it's committed, so if there's a balancing that's done with your staff to make sure it's correct, and then if there needs to be, something came over incorrectly, we fix it, and then we'll rebalance.
okay. We have, let's say we have some estimated payments that's come in that are year or more old, that is just sitting there, money sitting there. Would we be able to move that as needed?
Yes, yeah, you could do that, yeah, it'll be part of the software, it'll be the maintenance part.
Okay,
Yes.
so it will, even though it's coming from the converted data, we'll still be able to?
Yeah, you have the ability to do
Okay.
adjustments on it.
Okay,
And that sounds good to me.
yeah, yes, and we did the phone presentation with you all, in the tax admin office, and what we saw was great, so.
Yeah,
It's just
we
those-
work closely with Lexington Fayette to develop that, so.
Yeah. So we were just concerned about if there are issues, because, our data, we have to go back 10 years sometimes.
Right, that was mentioned in our discussions yesterday about the years of history that you might want, so,
Yeah.
and we committed to that, so.
Okay,
Is it?
thank you.
One of the things that, when we talked to, the second group, that was proposed to us, one of the things was that their proposal was slightly less. After speaking with them, we came to discover that they actually were not doing a true conversion. They were not taking our old information and bringing it forward. They kept repeating phrases such as, well, we'll start at the beginning of the year and we'll move forward and we'll take this. They weren't looking at going further back. We needed an actual conversion of actual data.
Historical.
You know, yeah, we needed something historical to be able to see and to look at.
What is most typical for your understanding is somewhere in the 3 to 5 year range, but we will not lose any data that we have for the last 20 years that's already been archived and stored away in the format under KBS. It still would be available.
Bill and I actually sat through that, and there were a couple of other points that group had that kind of made us a little weary.
Well, one of the
Julie
biggest
was there
issues
also.
I had, and I've had a little bit of experience in data conversion in previous jobs many years ago, and I'm sure those processes have improved since then, but they had an issue with doing a lot of historical data because they were afraid it would muck up the system. And I just personally feel that with some of the projects that we've gotten started, that Julie and the judge have gotten kicked off, using our historical data to help us gain some of the tax dollars that we have been missing, to lose that historical data and the ability to use it would be detrimental to us. We could easily pay for this software if we have access to that data.
Not only that, we got a key piece of information this morning.
Oh, and for you that watched the disaster recovery piece in the meetings that we had this morning, I sent an email off to Paula, who's on the screen. She's our account executive for Springbrook. If the Springbrook product would work on an iPad, it will. Which means for us as a county, in the event of a disaster, I call up FirstNet, I get people in an iPad, or we do that ahead of time, make sure that our key figures such as payroll, HR, and most of the key people already have iPads. The county continues
Without
any kind of hesitation whatsoever. We don't have any kind of lag time in keeping the county's business up and running, because on the iPad we will have email. I can easily install the Ring Central application, which means that people can
On cue.
get a hold of you anytime.
Anytime, any place.
We could immediately have people answering phones without any problem.
Is that Ring
Sorry.
Central calling you?
Actually, it was, I think it was something else, but I'm not going to worry. But I can get them on the phone, I can get them on their extensions right away, without hesitation. Probably the biggest thing for me with the Springbrook was the willingness to work and get whatever data we needed converted into the new system so that we could use it.
Well, Springbrook is a migration owner of the older KBS system. So there's nobody better to do that conversion than the people that own the code and wrote it initially
Right.
through their staff development as they migrated to a newer technology than what KBS was
Absolutely.
initially written under. So,
So I heard Kronos. Does that mean we would go away from Kronos?
yes,
We with the HR platform and the payroll software, which is both part of our packets today, the Kronos can go away. Everything would be all together. Everything would be on Springbrook. It would be all one.
and if you want to get Steve down here, he can tell you what his evaluation was, and he and Shannon both said, yeah, we want to include this if we can get it added on. because
Makes sense.
Well, and one of the things that we have too, I mean, the fact that the employees are going to have access to all of their payroll data that they would normally get on a piece of paper. I mean, this is just going to be leaps and bounds ahead of what we're at right now.
That's the employee self-service piece.
But
Can I add some things here?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
the payroll subscription will be less than what we're paying for Kronos? Is that what I was kind of understanding earlier?
Let's see.
About the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's about 6,000.
You know, 6,077.
yeah.
And we're paying around 10.
Around what?
Around 10, it looks like, right now with
I was gonna
Kronos.
say, it's,
Yeah,
yeah, it's,
9 to 10.
yeah,
So there's a
it's
savings
over
there.
9,000.
But I mean, and Darlene, you can
And
correct me, I think our biggest expense in all of this is the conversion of the data.
Yeah.
Once
It
we
is.
get the car up and driving with all its pieces and parts, I think our yearly expenses are that, how much different are they? I mean,
I was gonna say annually, if we sign the paperwork today, that's being offered to us today with an expiration date of today. That annual expense is $38,899.06.
To include an HR and all that, yes,
Right.
yes.
ma'am?
That's all of that, and
Make
that's
a
a
question
net
of
60
procedure.
days.
Could we get a motion on the table?
So
We can
I'll
discuss it.
second that.
Okay, who made the motion and what was the motion?
To proceed with this project?
Springbrook is,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, there's a motion to proceed with Springbrook, made by Ashley Ellison, seconded by Madison Gay. Yeah, in discussion, well, that'll come in discussion.
Another thing too, this does away with all of our paper
Do you
trail
want to
we've
accept
got
the
now,
motion
right?
first before we move? We haven't voted on it.
As far as I'm
We have
concerned, I
any
believe you
discussion?
can. Now, I don't know how many people, are gonna want that piece of paper in their hand, but, for the most, it will reduce our paper trail considerably.
Yeah, I mean, to access your, we get a statement twice a month on what we get paid,
Pay stubs.
if you got this where you got it online, they can just go in there and look on the line, just like we do at school. They don't have no more paper trail. It's over.
But you could have. It's a
You
backup.
could have, but nobody,
But one of the nice things about the employee interface is they would have the ability, if they want to print out a copy of it, they can.
well, you can print it out at your home. if you want.
Right, exactly.
Print it on your printer.
I think Julie had something she wanted to add after what Jason had said. What was that?
Well, I think it's, just so the public knows, the bids were pretty far apart. They were close to 50,000 apart. So why would we recommend the more expensive software? And I think you've
Sorry,
heard.
say that again?
They were 50,000 apart.
Apart. So, about 50,000. So here's why it's different. We have done some background checks on the cheaper company because we felt like, gosh, if we can get it for a lot less, let's. There are cities that are working with them that are into 2 years and they still don't have their data converted over yet.
Right.
And are leaving this company to go back to other firms.
So just to clarify, when you say $50,000 difference, you're not talking a month.
No.
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 No,
The
initial
upfront
setup,
cost.
initial,
The
upfront setup.
And most of that
Thank you.
$50,000 is part of, is migration, I believe,
Yes.
if
What
I'm
is
not
the-
mistaken.
Well, the other thing is they haven't really quoted us on our migration yet.
It doesn't sound like there is a migration, it sounds like
Yeah,
it's gonna be.
so that's the second thing I wanted to know. The other thing they don't do is they're encouraging their clients to use one piece of paper check. So we would no longer have our color-coded checks for each department, each checking account. They want you to use one check, and then it just disperses the numbers, and we don't operate that way here. So it really doesn't fit what we do here, how we operate, and we just can't figure out a way to make this company work for us. It's just apples and oranges, really is.
Well, I'm a little confused on the price. You said
It's,
30, how much you say?
that company, I didn't actually state a price with that
Well, where'd
company.
the 38,000
But-
come from?
The
That's
third,
the
this,
annual
this,
fee.
that's
That's
the
the
annual
annual
fee for
fee.
this, for Springbrook.
Okay.
Well, I have a question, since a competing bidder has not converted in a 2-year period of time, maybe it's these ladies who had answered this question, hard and fast contract language, what's our conversion time period?
We got an idea on that.
Yeah, yep. According to our CEO, who stated this yesterday, we would do project kickoff within,
Starting Monday.
yeah, we would be able to start doing a project plan. And we already have, historically, we have a lot of customers we've converted from the KVS, so we have that conversion process down pat. And I just wanna say on the competitor too, they're hosted and not cloud, so that's a big difference in fact.
That doesn't answer it. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Well, it depends because we have to meet with your staff to find out the time frame. We have to do the kickoff call, find out who wants to go first. Our finance usually goes first, because we have to get all that in there. And we determine the project plan based on your requirements, like when do you wanna go live, how soon, how much data. We can confirm 3 to 5 years. If it's 5 years, it may take an extra little bit of time. But it's 10 years for the business tax, that could be, but Monday the project plan would kick off, and that would be the start of the project. And then you'd get a project manager that would define the time frame.
I ask this because I've been involved in 2 major Kentucky corporations where with one, after a 2 or 3 year period of time, we dumped them because they weren't converting things, because it was not in contract language. And with the other one, it was part of a national Blue Cross Association group, and after 10 years of frustrations, we dumped them nationally. So I'd like to know that we could somehow
I got an answer for you.
contingent on
Got an
in the
answer for
contract.
you. Paula, if you remember correctly, I believe it was the CEO or your finance guy up in the top right corner of our screen yesterday. It said, depending on what is typical expected on our population and data and the histories, he was looking for somewhere between 3 and 4 months for the conversion.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that, 3 to 6 months.
6 at the outside.
Could we have in the contract not to exceed 6 months?
No.
Well, can
No.
I say something here?
They might find
No,
something.
no,
Yeah,
no, hold on, I'm gonna jump in here. No, we can't, because they're delving into a system that's been here for
The unknown.
how many years? The unknowns, for them to kind of jump in and give some sort of thing.
A guarantee like Dick.
I would say if they did anything, and they gave a guarantee of under a year, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
There's a lot
They
there.
said they would not let us go live until we were ready.
Until we were ready.
That gave us some comfort that they weren't gonna say, here's your data, it's
Yeah,
yours.
and they're gonna
work
have
with
to,
us.
they'll have to work around some of our schedules too, like occupational tax, we're fixing to be hit hard. It's getting to be our busy time. And so we're not gonna be able to do it right away until
So
we
from
get.
our end, we won't be prepared.
Right.
From
And we wanna make
our-
sure your data is good.
Yeah,
Right.
from our finance module, and I think maybe payroll and the HR and some different things like that, they may be ready to go.
Right, and-
Correct?
yeah.
It's just maybe some other
Yeah,
modules
Right.
won't be
Your finance
completely
will go up
fun.
first
Right,
because
yeah.
we have to do your chart of accounts, now all that finance conversion.
Yeah.
And then we'll convert your payroll.
You'll
You know,
know.
AP is included in your finance, so, but we balance all your data, so there's a human element to it. We wanna make sure you sign off, yes, it balances, and then we move to the next step.
John,
Well, Tom, are you okay with stopping on what you, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
How many, and if I'm using the right terminology, modulars are we pulling together for this that we're paying for?
This
I
is-
take it you buy different modules.
I think it's 7 to 8. what I
Yeah,
counted.
it's,
So which ones are we putting together?
it's technically 8 different.
There's 9 modules total.
Oh, is it 9? Okay.
9, okay.
And they do all the work for Lexington.
can you list them for us, Paula,
So you know, that's our
just so the
reference.
court
A
knows?
list, a list of modules?
Yes.
Okay. On one of the quotes I sent you, we've got business tax, finance,
Yep.
suite, fixed assets, licenses and permits, payroll subscription, and purchase orders. And on the second quote, it is for HR and employee service. So it's a total of nine modules.
So, that understandably sounds like why it would take a good bit of time to be able to transfer all the data and the information forward, is that
Right, yeah, and within the finance module, there's, or finance suite, there's 5 modules. So, that's, you know, general ledger, accounts payable, your bank reconciliation.
And that takes time.
Yeah, security, yeah.
What if we get in this with you guys and decide we found it's not what we want?
You won't.
What's the
No.
cost?
Good
What's
answer.
the cost to get out? And how much
Oh,
time?
I don't know that. Nobody's ever left, so, no, I'm kidding. I don't know what the cost is, if you're, I think there's a thing, something in the contract that says non-performance or something that if you're not satisfied, there's
We can
a
terminate the
process.
contract.
You have to have like a 30, 60, 90 day.
Yeah, there's an option for if at some point along you're not happy, and what makes you not happy, what can we do to fix it, kind
In
of
other words,
situation.
we're not happy, you'll do something to make us happy.
Right, and, you know, if there is something, we're very reactive, so it's not like we're going to ignore any
But they have been
concerns.
with KBS, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
You see a lot of headlines. With KBS, they've been very reactive and responsive.
And we can add things into the program, if new things come up, we can add it
Sure.
into
like if
the
there's
system.
something, and I'm part of the product team, but if there's something that is necessary for your business process that's not in there and it makes sense, we can definitely have a conversation to add enhancements that make sense from a business perspective, right? So,
And the cost will go up.
I don't know what that is.
Always.
Well, and,
You wanna make a bet?
You have to go up.
if they're added as standard, then you're not charged for it, so.
All right, what was we paying for the other system a year?
I was gonna say, if, right now with KBS and Kronos, right now, it's just over $23,000.
That's a month.
That's a year,
A year,
$23,000 a year.
And this is how much?
So, and this would be right at 39.
You're talking about per month or per year?
Per year.
Per year.
Per year. Okay.
Now that's not getting everything set up, but that's the actual
What's the initial
annual
setup?
pricing.
What's the initial setup fee?
Okay, that, 77
Plus
plus
this one.
78,000.
I got your pen, I'm sorry.
78 for both, all of it.
78 for everything.
I really think
Yeah.
that it's time to make this
This
move,
is
and
good.
it's way past time to make this move, and this moves us up a whole nother level of ability to function in modern times, so I'm hoping that we can go ahead and call the question, and I don't wanna cut anybody off, but I think this is kind of a
Well, I've got a lot more.
no-brainer to.
Well, the other side of it too is at some point, we're going to be kicked off of KBS.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're kind of running around trying to get things done. Instead of being proactive, we're being reactive.
Yeah, our price actually
Usually
went
the
up.
cost is higher.
Our price actually went up $600 from one year to the next, to this past year. It's going to continue
Because
to
of
do
inflation.
that because, partly because your system's getting older, it's harder to take care of, it's more maintenance
And they have less staff.
and less staff.
So I'm gonna divide between efficiencies and amortization of tax savings to our taxpayers. Yes, we need the efficiency inside this building, or inside county government, but lack of financial mind, when does it accrue to the public's, taxpayers' financial advantage? 2 years, 5 years? Immediately?
I don't know how you measure that.
I think the way I look at it is that, and we talked about this before, and I'm not saying we're getting rid of anybody, but the additional staff needed here to do the job for KBS, you would see less overtime, you would see less hours worked. Possibly at some point you wouldn't need, a person. I mean, there could be huge savings where this will pay for itself.
So one employee's salary could negate one
I'm
year's.
confident we could collect tax that we're not collecting now enough.
That's the
I
key
mean,
right
we collected
there.
$500,000.
That's-
That helped me, yeah, right there.
And
Well,
we will be able to track it better.
Yeah, we can't,
Because-
so delinquencies should evaporate.
should pay for it.
Eventually.
Well, I don't know that delinquencies will ever
No,
evaporate
not
because you have
completely.
those certain ones that are always out there, but by gosh, we can sure keep track
We'll
of
know
them.
where they are.
Right.
And we don't
Right-
have that now.
Right now, with a lot of them, we are physically keeping up with it ourselves, like,
Yeah.
we're doing it all
Manually.
from here.
Exactly.
We've got
Paperwork, yeah.
spreadsheets, we've got
A
time.
lot of ours.
And
A
like
whole lot of
Bill,
hours.
Yeah.
and like Bill had mentioned, the fact that you can run the county on this, if something were to happen, if that tornado had gotten a little closer,
That is huge.
To me, that's
we would have
that's
been
it. That's,
pretty.
I mean, that steps us up into the 21st century, folks.
Now, I don't want to put anyone on the spot here, but I think I heard on before possibly about some grants for this.
We're looking at some cyber security funding. We're looking into that to see
Huh?
if we can get that. We don't,
Say, a lot of our customers use the ARPA money.
yeah.
Bill, I had a question for you.
Yes, sir?
My question is, it's been delivered about this. I'm depending on you and the judge and Julie and Darlene to make the right decision for us. But I feel like most of us don't really understand all the ins and outs of this, and we've got to put our confidence in you guys. So if you 3 or 4 or 5 or how many, you feel real comfortable in, this is what you really like.
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Once we get this migration done, going forward with Springbrook, because Tom asked me this question specifically earlier today, in the event of what I call the bus factor, in the event that Darlene and I are walking across the street and we get hit by a bus, what are you going to do? With the products that I have in place now with Google and hopefully soon our next step in that with Ring Central and then with Springbrook, you get your iPads in, you carry on and grieve for us later.
No.
You do. You
We'll
carry on
Cry for me now.
immediately. And that is huge. Ask Mayfield.
Yes. I reached out to people and asked specifically about the other company and said, hey, has anybody used these people? I had one person who said, one person from a county in Kentucky that said, we are currently considering talking to them right now. We have reached out to these particular cities, and this one particular city in the eastern part of Kentucky is having trouble with their migration and has been for a while. I did try to call them and couldn't get a hold of anybody. But since that point, this same county that I had asked about that I responded back to them and said, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how our conversations went. She said, can I have their contact information? And so she's since contacted them.
Call question.
Mm-hmm.
There's one statement I'd like to make on a second potential amendment or second vote to this, depending on how this goes. No, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would be very interested in entertaining a motion that we authorize the first year's payment to the 78,000, not the 103,000, or whatever it is, both of those together but the 78,000 estimated professional services pricing to come, or depending on what you want to do, to come out of ARPA funds, because Debbie just said that that's a potential that other customers have done, that we allowed to get this product up and going now, because we would reach out to RJ, run it through our vetting processes to go through and do that. I think that's good money spent to change where we are.
Judge, does that?
I'll make that amendment.
Why don't we do this? If we elect to go with Springbrook, let's bring an amendment, or bring a motion on the floor to then pay
So
for
let's
that
vote on the
with-
first one.
The question to the judge, does that impact any of the other projects that we've been talking about?
Not at the, no,
Thank
it
you.
doesn't,
Okay.
no, it
Thank you.
doesn't, no, it doesn't.
Okay, I call the question.
I got
Hold on, John.
a question
You already
about
got
that.
it?
Somewhere in this reading, I read that there's a project manager. Is that correct? And who would that project manager be?
It's
if
me.
we went forward?
And
Heaven
this
help
gentleman
us.
and
Got
a
a
project,
Jason.
a true project manager at Springbrook, so somebody that is
Who's the local, who would we point as local project? Now, here's the reason I bring it up. There are turnovers at this table here. And this is election year. And when you get into training, is there somebody who could possibly not be here next year? There's no sense in training them if they're gonna be out of here in a year, is what I'm trying to think. Will there be a continuation with these folks who would probably be here, I would assume, when maybe one of us or all of us or whatever happens with the elections? And when you figure time is money and in training and then they're gone or whatever, is that a situation that has merit?
If I may?
Yes, sir.
In my opinion, when I look at projects and things like that, and I think about what you've just asked, the primary people that would be, I think, the point of contact for their project manager would be Julie and Darlene,
Okay.
and then Jackie and I as backups, or people behind the scenes. As far as the technical side of this thing, there won't be much for me to do, other than help them get into the systems or do whatever, but the rest of it will be on them. But Jackie and Darlene and Julie are gonna be their main contacts, and they will be the ones that, moving forward, that I would recommend.
Well, that's kind of the way the game is played, and sometimes I think you have to pull in the rules of the game and what
Absolutely.
happens in making decisions, so that's out there.
Okay, first motion is to,
Proceed.
Accept the bid with.
He made a
accept the
motion to
bid
proceed and second.
from Springbrook to, we'll keep the other one a separate motion, not an amendment, okay? Let's vote on the court's acceptance of Springbrook as a vendor on this project today at the prices stipulated in the information in front of us. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, opposed? 0. Motion carries unanimously. So, next,
I'll
we
make a
have,
motion, we go ahead and utilize ARPA funds to pay for the upfront cost of.
you wanna do the whole first year or just the professional services for each? Huh? Do the whole year, start out,
Whole year.
okay?
Seconds.
And we have a motion by,
Providing RJ blesses that.
yeah, okay, contingent on the approval of,
For
our
RJ.
processes, so, we have a motion made and accepted to use ARPA funds for
Motion
the,
seconded.
huh?
Motion made and seconded, not accepted.
Okay, seconded, not accepted.
Who seconded? You did, okay, got it.
Jason did and Jamie.
Do we know the amount?
Yeah,
78,000 is what it is?
no.
Full first
If you
year.
add the first year subscription in there, it's gonna be, you have to add all four.
It's 111,000.
Thank you.
111,000, that's.
Well, I mean, that's good to know how it's going, because a while ago it was 78,000, so.
Well, that was.
I figured that was pocket change to you, Ronnie, so it wasn't a big deal.
And that's great, we don't have to.
Hey, my wife's got all the money in my house.
Does everybody understand the motion? Mr. Collins? Okay, so, any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries unanimously. That is the reasons for the special called meeting. I know of no other things that we can or should discuss here. We have a motion to adjourn and seconded here. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Judge, buying lunch.
We stand in adjournment.
We gotta go.
Thank you.
We should do this every Tuesday that we have court.
Hey, listen to what he's saying. Jason, you want the man said? Let him begin, Judge. All right.
We should do this every Tuesday we have court.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula, thank you, Paula.
Yeah, 40 minutes is plenty of time.
We could get Phil to stop going down the family tree, that'd be good. If we could get you to stop doing the family tree.